what's up, land flippers? Today's topic, is it legal to wholesale real estate in Texas? How to find potential deals, pitfalls you want to avoid, and where to focus your efforts. And when it comes to wholesaling real estate in Texas, we're also going to talk about laws that support wholesaling as well as the wording needed for marketing purposes. Hi, I'm Chris Thomas, and I help real estate investors achieve a 100% ROI and at least $20,000 profit per deal without ever seeing the property or fixing anything, using my Land Flipping 101 high profit secrets. But first, I have a question for you. Do you believe that time is money? Put it in the chat if you believe this. Time is money. Do you believe it? Drop it in the chat, because I submit to you that time is not money. Rather, time is infinitely more valuable than money. Now, why do I say that? Now, think about it. If you found out that you had a terminal disease, but there is a known treatment that would cost you $100,000, what would you do? Most people would sell, borrow, and do just about anything to get that $100,000, right? So if this is true, then it must follow that time must be more valuable than money, right? Damon says, no, but people trade time for money. Richard says, yes. Awesome. So what if I said to you that I'm going to give you $1 million? Would you take me up on that? Heck yeah. Well, what if I said, I'll give you $1 million, but you have to die tomorrow? Now who wants it? Most people would probably turn me down. Why? Because time is infinitely more valuable than money. Now you're probably thinking, okay, what's your point, Chris? My point is, stop trading time for money. Instead, spend whatever money you need to in order to buy back your time, to buy back the rest of your life. Now, if you agree, comment below, time is more valuable than money, okay? Comment that in the chat, all right? I'm trying to get a look at the chat real quick. All right. Hey, Damon. Hey, Michael. Oh, gosh. Michael. Yes, it is. Richard. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Guys, thank you. I agree. All right. Let's get into today's topic, okay? I cannot tell you how many times I get the question, is it legal to wholesale real estate in Texas? The answer is yes. 1,000 times yes. Wholesaling real estate is one of the quickest ways to make money as a real estate investor. And it doesn't always require the wholesaler to have tons of cash or great credit. So first, let's talk about the laws that support wholesaling in Texas. There's an occupations code news section. It's 1101.0045, and it states that a person may acquire an option or an interest in a contract to purchase a real property and then sell it or offer to sell the option or assignment of the contract without holding a real estate license, so long as the person does not engage in real estate brokerage, which means they don't list the house or the land as if they own it, or they don't try to sell it on behalf of the original seller, and they're disclosing the nature of the equitable interest to any potential buyer. Right, that they only have rights to purchase the property and not actual ownership of the property. If not, they could be considered practicing without a license. Okay, additionally, there's a section in the code, it's number 5.086 to the Texas Property Code, and that states that before entering into a contract, a person selling an option or assigning an interest in a contract to purchase real property must disclose to the potential buyer that the person is selling only an option or assigning an interest in the contract, like an equitable interest, and that person does not have legal title to the real property. This will be important in a minute when I discuss how to market your equitable interest on Facebook or Craigslist or other online platforms. But I'm not an attorney in Texas, so I can't give you actual legal advice, but this is my understanding. So in layman's terms, okay? So now we've got that legal stuff out of the way. Let's discuss what types of wholesaling are out there and when you would want to put each of those into practice, and then we can touch briefly on how you can find those wholesaling deals in Texas. Okay, first off, wholesaling and reverse wholesaling are very, very similar. Some people tout the benefits of finding a deal first and that cash buyers will come to you, while others say, find your cash buyer first, determine their buying criteria, and then go out and find those particular properties. Now, I personally like to find the property first because I believe that getting the deal is harder. You know, it's my inventory, it's the engine that gets my business going, and I find that buyers are way easier to find when you have a property. Now, once you've negotiated a deal with a motivated seller and you put it under contract, you have three options, okay? Number one is that you can assign the contract to a cash buyer. This is probably the most common route and why many people with bad credit or no cash can still wholesale properties. So if you have bad credit or very little cash, I would recommend going this route. This is also has the least amount of risk in investing because the wholesaler never takes ownership of the property, and therefore the liability of the property really never falls on them. Now, the downside to this is that the wholesaler's fee either appears on the closing disclosures, or it's handled by a separate agreement between the wholesaler and the cash buyer. Either way, the cash buyer knows how much the wholesaler made on the transaction. Okay. Number two, you can perform a double close. And this is where you close on the property, meaning you buy it and take ownership of it. And then you have a second closing, selling the property either later that day or within a couple of days of taking ownership. This is my personal strategy. And a person that does this type of closing will need transactional funding or cash themselves. So it's not often a choice used by those that might have bad credit or no cash. And there are closing costs that have to be paid from this. This particular strategy is done if the wholesaler is making a sizable profit. Selling the property, to the cash buyer, and they don't want the cash buyer to know the amount that they made on the deal. This is exactly my strategy. Okay. And by the way, if you need transactional funding, I can provide it to you as long as you have them both, the buyer and the seller, lined up to close on the same day and a title company willing to do it. The fee for that is 1% plus a $50 transaction or a $50 wire fee. Okay. 1% of the funded amount, minimum $1,000. Anyway, lastly, number three, the wholesaler can close and take ownership of the property, but they'll have to line up financing or cash to purchase the property outright and pay for all the closing costs. And this strategy is used for the wholesalers that intend to wholesale it, if you've ever heard that term. The property which is obtained off market. Basically, wholesaling is taking the property that's purchased off market to the market to get a higher price, right? A retail price. And this is often done with properties that are obtained considerably below their market value and purchased outright. And this strategy is also used when a wholesaler buys in a really hot market and is waiting for the property to appreciate. That is not my strategy, but this is another option. And I wanted to touch briefly on the ways to find wholesale properties, because there are many ways. There are lists you can buy, or you can farm the information yourself in the county records. And that would be, people like to look for foreclosures, probate, which is when people have passed away and had a will, divorces, tax liens, etc. There are many lists, and many regular and virtual wholesalers will like to buy those lists. And they'll often call or text or send direct mail in addition, as one of their strategies for finding the deal. Some people also use the MLS, for their deal flow. Other ways to locate properties, if you don't have a lot of money but you do have time, you can always, go driving around. Now, if you choose wholesaling option number one that I mentioned, to assign the contract, you need to market to cash buyers because it's imperative that you include the phrase that I'm about to give you in all your advertising in Texas. So that's Craigslist, that's Facebook, that's email, among others. Okay, here's the sentence you have to have in Texas. I am selling my equitable interest in the property at 123 Main Street. And it's important that you do not represent that you already own the property or that you're representing the owner of the property before the words equitable interest in the property is used. Okay, that's essential. Now, wholesaling properties near large Texas cities and surrounding suburbs is likely the easiest place to start. The biggest cities in Texas are Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and Fort Worth. Or Dallas Fort Worth. However, if you're planning to reverse wholesale and find some solid cash buyers first, it's imperative that you find out where they want to buy. What I love about land flipping is that it produces higher margins than flipping houses for less work and in way less time. You'll have fewer headaches from not having to coordinate contractors or, meet people at properties in order to do work. And you can do it from the comfort of home. Anywhere there's internet, really. It could be on the go. You can start it as a side hustle because you can do this in just a few hours a week. And it's a great way to make a lot of money without spending a lot of time. Because one thing you can do to improve your life is to realize that you don't have to work harder in order to make more money. There's only a fraction of people flipping land compared to those that are out there flipping houses. And the best part, when dealing in land, you don't have to worry about visiting the land or fixing anything, which is what I love about it. If you're interested in going more in depth on how I do flip land for high profits, go ahead and leave a comment here and I'll send you an invitation for my High Profit Secrets webinar, which is coming up soon. Also, you can reach out to me by posting a question on the Facebook group, Land Flipping 101, or send me a private message or an email to chris@landflipping101.com. All right, I'm going to take some questions out of the Facebook group and say hello to everyone. Richard Williams, Michael Santiago, Damon Graham, welcome. Kirk Christensen, that's awesome. I don't see any real questions, but I'm so glad you participated. Eric Hardman said Texas is a non-disclosure state. That's correct. Brett says 950K transactional funding if I have both lined up, or is there a max? There's no max. There's no max, Brett. If you have a deal and you have them both lined up and a title company willing to do the deal, I can help you. All right, send me a private message and we can talk more about it. Thanks y'all for joining me. I am super excited about some stuff I have coming up. I can't wait to announce it, but in the meantime, just comment if you need any help and what you need help with, and I'll do all I can to help you. Thanks, guys.